Chris Graham here for Trailblazer RV. We're in the service department here at Trailblazer, and we're going to take you through a new RV orientation on this 2018 Sportsmen LE 261 RLLE. Starting right here at the front of the trailer, where you've got your propane and battery systems. To access your propane valves, you can just open up the panel on the top of the cover, or you can pull the whole cover up to remove it and access your propane tanks. We've got two 20-pound propane tanks here. Both of these are full right now, and an automatic switchover propane regulator. You can see the sight glass on this regulator is showing red, that the supply, there's no propane flowing from the supply bottle. If I open this valve, the sight glass goes from red to clear to indicate that propane is flowing. We recommend opening the valve on both bottles and always open a propane valve slowly and all the way. As long as you've got the valves open on both bottles, the regulator will draw propane from the supply bottle until it's completely empty and then start to pull from the reserve bottle. When that happens, the sight glass will go from clear back to red. Then you can switch the regulator over, remove the first bottle to go and refill it without ever shutting down your propane system. Right here you've got your battery. It's a 12-volt deep cycle RV battery with two leads going to it, red to positive, black to negative. It's a flooded wet cell battery, so it does require some maintenance. We recommend a couple of times a year popping these caps off and checking the fluid level of the 6 cells. If it's a little bit low, you can top it up with some distilled water and put a good charge on the battery. We also recommend removing the battery for winter storage. Store it inside, somewhere where it's not going to freeze, and if possible, put a charge on the battery once or twice over the off season. Here around the side of the trailer, you've got your 30 amp power cord. A lot of sites that you visit will have 30 amp power, some won't, so we supply the park adapter to break that down to 15 amp power as well. This is also where you'll access your water pump for winterizing the RV. So the water pump's right in here, and it has a siphon line to pump antifreeze through the lines. So if you put this siphon line into your jug of antifreeze, close the valve going down into the tank, which is this one. Close this valve and open the valve to the siphon line. Then you can turn on your water pump and pump directly from the jug of antifreeze through the water lines. There's just one screw to put that panel back in place. You'll fill your freshwater tank from here. For that, we recommend using one of those white non-toxic drinking water hoses so you don't get the plasticky taste in your water. Or if you're at a site that has water hookups, you can hook directly up to the city water connection. Then you don't have to worry about running out of water or having to use your water pump. If you're using your city water connection, we recommend using a water pressure regulator. It's just a little brass fitting about that big that goes on the end of your hose to maintain proper operating pressure in your water system. To drain the water from your fresh tank, you'll find the drain valve right here underneath. Right behind that is where you'll dump your holding tanks. So we supply a new 20-foot medium heavy-duty sewer hose. It's stored inside the rear bumper for now. When you connect this hose connects to here, other end goes into the ground. Always dump the larger black valve first. Once that's finished dumping, and you can hear when it finishes flowing, you can close that valve and open the gray valve to flush the sewer contents out of the hose using the gray water, the sink and shower water. Once that's finished dumping, close this, replace the cap, and stow the sewer hose back in the rear bumper. Here at your running gear, your tires are inflated to 65 psi, and we do recommend running them right at 65 psi. Also recommend torquing your wheel nuts to 100 foot-pounds. We do recommend periodically retorquing those with a towable RV. and your wheel bearings need to be repacked periodically as well. This trailer has easy lube axles, so if you pop this center cap off here, you'll find a grease zerk where you can grease your inner and outer wheel bearings with a grease gun. That doesn't eliminate the need to repack wheel bearings, but it does prolong the intervals. So instead of repacking your wheel bearings every year, maybe you can get away with repacking wheel bearings every 3 or 4 years. Right here on the back is where that 30 amp power cord will attach. And you've also got crank down stabilizer jacks on all 4 corners of the RV. So when you get set up in your site relatively level, you can crank those down to be snug with the ground, but you don't want to actually lift the RV with them. They're not designed to take that kind of weight. So crank them down just to be snug with the ground to take some of the side-to-side movement out of the RV. Your cargo tray folds down from the back. Just pull these 2 pins to fold it down. Good for 250 pounds, but that includes the weight of the spare tire and rim. So about another 200 pounds on this cargo tray. It's worth noting that the trailer doesn't come with a jack or a wheel wrench, so you'll want to make sure that you have a wrench along with you that fits the lug nuts for your trailer, just in case you need to change a tire on the fly sometime. Here on the camping side, we'll find our hot water tank. We open up the hot water tank, and there's a couple of things to show you in here. This tank can run on propane or electricity. To run the tank on electricity, you'll have to turn this little black rocker switch at the bottom to the on position. We like to leave it in the off position so you don't accidentally start up the tank on electricity without any water in it. There's also 2 black reset buttons here. If the tank ever overheats, you'll have to come out here and reset these before you can start the tank up again on electricity or propane. This is also where you'll drain the water from the tank in the winter when you go to winterize. You'll do that by pulling the plug out of the bottom of the tank with a 1 1/16 inch socket. On the end of this plug is a rod about this long. It's your anode rod. And the purpose of the anode rod is to corrode over time to prevent the inside lining of the tank from corroding. So that anode rod can get quite pitted and corroded looking over time, and it will eventually need to be replaced. Every 3 to 5 years, depending on the water quality, you'll need to replace the anode rod. Before you pull the plug anode rod out, make sure to use the pressure relief valve to bleed the pressure off of the tank so that it doesn't spray. Next to that is your furnace exhaust. Not really anything to talk about here except that it does get very hot. So if you've got young kids around the trailer, make sure not to touch that. The fridge vent right above that, this can be removed for access to the back of the fridge for cleaning or repair purposes, but mostly just a vent. The fridge needs some air circulation in order to work properly. You've got another hose connection here on this side of the trailer. Don't confuse this hose connection with the one on the other side. The other side is your fresh water connection. This is your sewer tank flush. So when you're dumping your black holding tank, you can have a garden hose connected to here, and it'll spray out the inside lining of the tank and spray off the monitor probes in the tank to keep the monitor panel reading accurately. This trailer has the Solera Smart Arm Awning. So you can control this awning from inside or outside. To use the outside control panel, you'll have to press and hold the unlock button. Until the green light comes on. Then you can extend and retract the awning from here. This awning will extend a full 8 feet, and it is also height adjustable. You don't have to extend it the full 8 feet. If you've got a tree in the way or another RV, it can stop at any point. Once it's extended, if you want to pitch one corner of the awning down, you can just pull down on this lower arm and that'll drop one side of the awning. We recommend, before you bring the awning in, putting the arms back up to the same height. That way you know that the canvas will roll up straight on the roller tube. Actually, a couple more things here on this Smart Arm awning. You have a awning light that runs the full length of the RV, and this one has an automatic setting as well. So you can set the awning to automatic, where this motion sensor will kick in to turn the light on anytime it senses motion. This one also has the wind sensor, so you can set 3 different levels of wind speed here, and the awning will basically sense motion from blowing around in the wind, and if the wind picks up to a point where it's dangerous to the awning, it'll pull itself in. It's a nice feature to have, but we still don't recommend trusting it implicitly. If you're going to leave the trailer for any length of time and there's a chance that the wind could come up, still recommend just pulling the awning in. It only takes one big gust of wind to do some damage to your awning, and it takes about 30 seconds for the awning to retract itself. Here inside the trailer, we'll find a few switches right by the door. The first for your interior main lights, second for your outside awning light again, and third for your blue accent lighting inside the trailer. You can also extend and retract the awning from in here as well, and you can extend and retract your slide out. So to extend the slide out, press and hold the out button. It's a flush floor slide, so it kind of sinks down, extends all the way out, and then it'll sink down again to make a flush transition with the floor. Make sure that your smoke detector is properly secured before bringing in your slide out, and we'll get you a new one of these. On the topic of this smoke detector, the smoke detector is not wired into the RV's electrical system. It has its own 9-volt battery, so you want to make sure you test that battery periodically by using the test button on the bottom of the smoke detector, and make sure that that battery hasn't gone dead. Did we get that slide all the way? Yes, we did. Once you hear the ratcheting sound, that means the slide is fully extended, and you can take your finger off the button. Over here in the kitchen, you've got a 3-burner stovetop. To light the burners, turn the knobs over to light, and you can use the piezo igniter to light all 3 burners. We recommend anytime you have your propane system disconnected, if you've changed a bottle or shut off your bottles and opened them again, the first thing you should do is come in here and just light all 3 of these burners. Once you can light all 3 of these burners, you know you've bled the air off of the propane system, and you'll have no problem lighting your automatic appliances, your fridge, furnace, and hot water tank. The only pilot light that you have to worry about in the RV is the oven. And to light that, turn the knob over to pilot on, push in on that knob, and you can light your pilot right underneath here. Once you can see a flame there, continue to push in on the knob for 10 or 15 seconds for the flame sensor to warm up, and then you can turn the knob up to temperature. Once you're finished using the oven, you can turn it back to pilot on and leave the pilot burning, or you can turn it all the way off and just relight it next time you need to use the oven. The fridge is an automatic gas electric fridge. So to turn it on, press the button. Recommend that you always leave it in A for automatic. In automatic, it'll always check for electricity first. If it has electricity available, it'll run on that. But if it doesn't have electricity available, it'll sense that and it'll light up on propane. You can override the automatic to only run on electricity or only run on propane. And you might find that the fridge cools a little faster on propane than it does on electricity. This model of fridge also has some temperature adjustment. So 1 being the warmest, 5 being the coldest. I usually set it on 3 or 4, but you might find you need to adjust that depending on the ambient conditions. To shut off the fridge, press and hold the on button for 3 seconds. Down on the floor below the fridge is your power converter. This is where you'll find the circuit breakers for all of your 110 volt circuits and fuses for all of your 12 volt circuits. You've got primarily 15 amp fuses with a couple of 40s in this model, and you should carry some spare fuses with you all the time. It's not uncommon in an RV to blow a fuse, so we recommend that you have some spare fuses just in case you need to change one out at the campground, and it won't be a big deal. Here on the wall behind me is where you'll find the thermostat. This controls both the heating and cooling systems for the RV. In order to run the air conditioning, you'll have to be plugged into power. Air conditioning, TV, power outlets, and microwave, the 4 things that need to be plugged into power to use. For the heat, if you turn the system over to heat and turn it up to a temperature that you're comfortable at, the furnace fan kicks on immediately. But it's going to be 10 or 15 seconds before we actually hear the burner light up on that furnace. You should be able to hear that when it happens. Just like so, if you could hear that in the video. And now the burner is running, and within a few seconds we should have warm air blowing from our vents. Once the system comes up to temperature, or you shut it off, exactly the same thing happens, only in reverse. The burner goes out immediately, but that fan is going to continue to run for 30 seconds to a minute just to go through its cycle before shutting down. It's worth pointing out that the air conditioner fan has a low and high fan speed, but the furnace fan only has 1 speed, so it's only going to run at that same speed all the time. Your stereo system works on 12 volt power. It's AM, FM, CD, DVD, USB, auxiliary, and Bluetooth, and you have 2 different speaker zones. Zone 1 is your inside speakers, Zone 2 is your outside speakers. So make sure if you're sitting inside the trailer listening to music or watching a movie that you only have the proper zone working, or else everyone in the campground is listening to the same movie that you're watching. Here in the bathroom, 2 switches on the wall, one for the bathroom lights, the other for the overhead fan. You've got a notable power outlet in here. This is your GFI outlet, so it has a test and reset button, just like the outlets in the bathroom of your home. The only difference is in an RV, this is wired in series with many of your other power outlets. So if you're ever plugged into power and you find that you're not getting any power at your outlets, come in here, press the reset button, and it'll reset that whole circuit. You've also got your monitor panel here, so you can check the level of your battery. You can see that it's good now. Fresh tank is empty, black tank is empty, and gray tank is empty. This is also where you'll activate your water pump. So you can hear that pump come on and pressurize the system, and we can use water directly from our water tank. There's also 2 switches here for your hot water heater. The switch on the left for propane. So when we turn that switch on, the DSI fault light comes on. That indicates that the burner is not running, but just like the furnace, if we give it a second, we should hear it light up. Just like so. So now in 20 or 25 minutes, we would have hot water from our hot water tank. You can also run your hot water tank electrically. If you're going to use the electricity, remember that there's that black rocker switch on the outside of the tank that will also need to be in the on position. Anytime you're using your RV's sewer system, you'll want to make sure and use a good potent RV toilet chemical. It comes in powder, liquid, or tablet form. And anytime you go to add chemical to the tank, pour the chemical into the bowl, use the foot flush, push halfway down to fill the bowl with water, and then dump the whole works into the tank. It's important to note that that chemical takes some water to activate it, so anytime you add chemical, make sure you put some water down with it. You'll want to add new toilet chemical immediately after every time you dump your holding tanks. So once you finish dumping your black holding tank, come in here, add some chemical, and you should be good until the next time you need to dump your tanks. Here in the master bedroom, only a couple of things to talk about in here. You have a second TV location here with a TV backer in this wall. The backer is metal, so the best way to find it is with a magnet. Make sure if you're going to install a TV mount here that you don't use screws longer than 1 inch. Your wall thickness here is only about 1.5 inches, so use 1-inch screws and make sure you hit the backing. You've got an emergency escape window here as well. This style of escape window can be opened just for some ventilation, and if you do need to use it as an emergency window, it'll hinge all the way up. For the most part, that covers it, I think. Hopefully you've learned something about the 2018 KZ Sportsmen LE 261 RLLE. If you have any questions, you can always get a hold of us here at Trailblazer, or you can check our website, trailblazerrv.com. Thank you.